I am here now with award-winning director Andrew Jarecki. He's back with the Jinx Part 2, a new series that picks up where the show left off nearly 10 years ago after unraveling the unsolved criminal cases involving real estate tycoon Robert Durst. Welcome back. I can't believe it's been 10 years because I can still remember the moment when you showed me the final scene of the first season where Robert Durst, on a hot mic in a bathroom, basically admits to killing 3 people. And, you know, it was the most shocking and probably the most satisfying ending to a documentary I ever saw. So how do you top it in season 2?
First of all, you were the first person other than the filmmaking team who ever saw that, because I actually needed a journalist who I could trust. I didn't, you know, it wasn't a deal that you could make. I just said, I could show this to you and you would know not to talk about it, because if somebody had talked about it, he would have gone on the run. So it was a very nerve-wracking time. This season obviously is quite different. It's about something different in a way, so it's not going to have that surprise, but it has a lot of other surprises.
What is the heart of the season?
Well, we always said when we were making the film, the first time when we were making the first Jinx, that we would say, how do you kill 3 people over 30 years and get away with it? It takes a village. Who are these people? If you pull the camera back, who were there for Bob over all these years and helped in one way or another, even if they saw themselves as good, decent people, somehow they were drawn into a number of murders. And so for us, this season is very much about complicity. It's about who participates, whether they know it, they don't know it, they think they know it. That was a theme that's been very much on my mind, just in terms of what's going on in the world, you know?
I'll bet. Let's take a look at a clip.
And, you know, there begins this conversation that sounds almost like a plea bargain.
You know, it's like I said before, this is all voluntary. It's been...
No, I hear you, and I have no problem with what you're saying.
Okay.
But what's going through my mind is, if I tell you what I know,
okay,
that answers your questions, what can you possibly do for me?
Okay.
Incredible jailhouse tape right there. You also had pretty remarkable cooperation from law enforcement here.
Yeah. What's interesting about this part 2 also is that, you know, part 1, everybody wanted to participate. Bob Durst called me because he knew that I had made a film about him and he wanted to see the film. Ryan Gosling plays him in the film. I think he was flattered, and he loved the idea of being able to tell his story. This part 2 is very different. Almost nobody wants to be in this part 2. There's a level of accountability, and there are questions that get asked, and law enforcement obviously was a big part of that.
You came close to talking to Robert Durst again?
I did. You know, I felt responsible. I don't want to say I felt bad exactly, but I felt responsible. I had gotten to know this man very well, and suddenly the film that I had made had caused him to be incarcerated and ultimately to be brought to trial. So I went to visit him because he was in jail in New Orleans, and I went down there with my daughter to go to Jazz Fest, and I thought, this is probably when I've got to go out to the St. Charles Parish Jail and try to see him. And I did see him for a minute. He was coming in a van because he had been at a medical appointment. And the woman said to me, "Oh, he's out." And I said, "Wait, he's out? You can go out?" Which made me very nervous. And she said, "Well, you know, he's coming in soon." And when I saw him, he came out of this van with these 2 corrections officers. He had leg irons on and handcuffs on, and he looked at me through the gate, and I looked at him, and he sort of moved on. And I went back in, and I said, you know, well, he's back. Is it possible for me to see him? And she called in, she said, he declined the visit.
Not shocking right there. Could you ever have imagined you would spend 20 years of your life, a feature film, 2 documentaries with Robert Durst?
Not at all. It was a total surprise, but it's such a human story. And the story, it's not just sort of this one-dimensional murder story. It's really a story of all the people around him also. And that drew me in because it's such a deep dive into human behavior and how people get wrapped up in something like this. And we're seeing that every day, you know, in the culture now. We're seeing people who say, I don't know how that happened. I was climbing on the Capitol building, but, you know, 2 weeks before that, I was a soccer mom. And there is this kind of spellbinding quality that you see in Bob. He's got this hypnotic voice. He's a very dominant person, and he brings people into bad behavior who never imagined that they would have been involved in that kind of thing before.
An allegory for our times. Andrew Jarecki, thank you for coming in. The Jinx Part 2 debuts this Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern on HBO.